Hello again, fellow quilters. As you can see from the thumbnail of this video, I have completed a variation of an Irish chain quilt. I've called it the Leprechaun quilt. The reason for that will become clear if you watch the video. But before I go into that, I would just like to say a huge thank you to everyone that's subscribed and been following my channel. We've got a nice little following now, which is lovely, and lots of you are commenting. And the format that I've been using is to share my design process and then to make up the quilt and show that. I'm not sure whether people are really interested in the design process, because I know there are lots of people out there that create beautiful patterns. So if you don't really want to see that, please let me know, because it does take a time and I don't want to waste your time or my time if you're not really interested. In my last video, my idea was to start sorting out all of the fabric, well, sorting out my sewing room in general really. And I started looking at my Christmas themed fabric and I ended up making a top. Anyway, I'm not completing the quilt. That's boxed up, so I'll probably make that perhaps October time next year. And then I went on and processed the rest of the bits of fabric that I've got. Christmas hardly any now really. So there are some 3-inch squares and some 4 3/4 inch squares. So they're in there. And then in this little packet, I used up smaller scraps and I've made these squares within a square. So there's different pails, different patterns. I'll show you those. And they've all got a red centre. So there's cream ones and then there's the darker one. So it's a good start for a log cabin if I want to go down that route, or just make a square or a background for another quilt. So they're away, and then I thought I'd have a look through my fabric and start tidying, and then I decided to make this leprechaun quilt. So I've made that and I'll show you that in a moment, the process. It's just the top. I'm not going to have time. It's the 18th of December now, and my sewing room now is really no longer a sewing room. It's just full of Christmassy things. So I need to come in here and have a good tidy up, and then I will sort through all of the fabrics, scrap fabrics that I have, small pieces of fabric. I think I'm going to be making some scrappy quilts in the new year. I've got my journal that I like to keep. So if you're interested in watching my quilting journal, let me know and I'll share that with you. So I'm going to stop chatting now and show you the process of the leprechaun quilt, and then I'll get back to you at the end. And this is the beautiful fabric that has inspired the project that I'm going to make this week. This is leftover fat quarters from a fat quarters bundle. It's called Indian Summer. And I only used this fabric sparingly in the Indian Summer quilt. And I have 4 fat quarters of that fabric, so there is about a yard. And so I wanted to bring out that lovely red with some other fabric. And in my stash I had 2 fat quarters of this, which matches beautifully. And the leaves in this design are sort of a tealy bluey green. And so the closest I have in my stash is this. This is a solid and it's called Leprechaun. So for this quilt I wanted to have a background fabric that would really show off that Indian summer, and so I've chosen this solid, which is ivory white. Well, I really like the way those colours work together. They all combine beautifully, I think. So now I've decided I'm going to create a variation of an Irish chain, and it's 2.5-inch squares, and there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek fun there because that's called Leprechaun. No offence intended. So if you hail from the Emerald Isle, I hope you enjoy this one. Well, everything at this time of year looks like Christmas. So I've just put the red and the green in, and there's definitely a holly berry vibe going on there. And what I'm going to do now is put the red and green in all of the boxes that surround the central one, and then we'll have a look about how to use that beautiful V&A fabric, Indian Summer. And there we are. That is the lattice shape of the Irish chain, and I think that looks really fresh and beautiful. And now I need to find a way of incorporating that beautiful V&A, and I'm going to use a different colour just to represent that. So I'm using this plum colour to represent the V&A fabric, and I've just echoed the shape of the Irish chain within that block, and I'll do that with the others. So I've added the V&A fabric now, and obviously you can see that I need to adjust the size. I need to bring out this and finish it. So these are only 2.5 inch squares, 2-inch finish, so there's plenty of room for manoeuvre. So on all sides I'm going to add another 2 rows. I'll do that now. So that's brought those shapes out, and that's much better. What I'm going to do now is put a 2.5 inch border around the outside in the leprechaun green. So the design has been extended out now to this border, which is great, and I'm just going to follow out that green because I think that'll make a lovely edge. So there we are, I've brought in the green borders and brought that to the centre, and that looks really lovely. I like this openness, and that's a characteristic feature of an Irish chain. However, I think I'm just going to do something in those 4 sections, and I'll do that now. So in these 4 sections here, I've just added a red square in the centre, and then I've put 4 blocks of the V&A fabric around that. Now I'm not sure whether I'll have enough of that fabric, the V&A fabric, to do those 4, and I think it will work equally as well with the green if I haven't got enough. So what I'm going to do now is work out the blocks, how I'm going to construct it. I find this quite an interesting part of the design process. Once I've constructed or designed the whole of the quilt top, it's then a matter of deconstruction, so breaking it down into workable blocks. But as usual, I will put all of this on my community page, so if you want to have a go at making it, I think it will be nice when it's finished. Only one way to find out. Well, I've been working my way through all of these blocks, and as I've completed a set, so 4 of block A, I've put a little tick next to each block, and now I've suddenly realised that the only block I haven't completed is block F, and that fits on this corner panel here. So they're the cornerstones of the quilt, and I think if you just look, you can see that there's a red centre, and then there's the 4 whites surrounding a little 3x3 block. And I just think it would look nice if I put another red in the centre to bring that out. But I'm not absolutely certain, so I think what I'm going to do now is lay out the rest of the blocks, and then I'll make that decision. So that's block G. If I start with that, that's the top row, and then I'll work my way around that. You can just see we're trimmed up. Everywhere's looking very Christmassy. And there we have all my blocks are laid out. So I'm just going to, it's just a matter of placing them and making that decision. So that's 2 of the H blocks on each side, and that's the cornerstone of block F. It's that red I think would look quite nice, another one there, but we'll have a look and see what the rows look like. So now I've added B, C, B and G on the bottom. Now we'll build out each side. So that's 2 block C's and 2 block A's on either side. So I've placed blocks D on each side and then E on the outside. And now I've added 2 C's and 2 A's again, and so we're on the last row now. And so I've put the 2 H, H and F cornerstones. So my initial thought was perhaps to bring that red square out so there wasn't so much white. There's a lot of checkerboards in that corner. Okay, I've just changed angles, and I think no, I'm not going to use that red. I quite like the way that all the busyness is contained in the centre, and then you've sort of got this green encroaching into the pattern work. So I might try and get some more green around the outside here to take it all the way around, so you've just got all the busy checkerboard in the centre and then the calming green, the leprechaun coming outside. Because I'm going to have green borders on this, Yes, I think I'll do that. So as you can see, I have coloured in those white parts that were in the corner, and that has changed the look of the quilt, I think, quite dramatically really. And now I've sewn those corner pieces, and there's also the border on. So let's get all the pieces put together and we'll have a look and see what this quilt looks like. Well, I think those plain green corners have worked. It's 59 inches square, 150 centimetres. You can't really see it like this at the moment. I'll see if I can get a picture outside. Well, I've just dashed out between showers to try and get a picture of this. And that's it finished. As you can see, it's just the quilt top at the moment. And I'm thinking I might make a couple of pillowcases or pillow shams to match. I think that might look really lovely. So that's it. That is the leprechaun quilt, or the Irish chain variation. So that's it. That is the last of the sewing I think I'm going to be doing for this year. It's just now a general tidy up. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope that you have a peaceful time at the end of this year. And I hope that 2024 brings everybody everything that they need, some of the things they'd like. Take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for your support, and I'll see you in the new year. Bye.